Shanquella, can you at least fight back?
No.
At least something. At least fight back, something.
Get up, bro. Get up.
Yeah.
The footage is grainy, shaky, taken on a phone propped at an angle inside a bedroom of a luxury villa in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. A woman is naked on the floor. She's not screaming. She's not running. She's just absorbing it. Punch after punch to her head, her face, her neck. The blows land with a dull, wet sound that doesn't belong in a vacation video. A man's voice cuts through, not panicked, not horrified, casual almost. "Quella, can you at least fight back?" She answers, quiet, broken. No. Nobody stops the beating. Nobody drops the camera. Nobody calls for help. Within hours, the woman on that floor, Shanquella Robinson, 25 years old, entrepreneur, Charlotte, North Carolina, was dead. That was October 29th, 2022. It has been nearly 3 years. Not one person has been arrested. And here's what the FBI files just revealed that changes everything about what we thought we knew. The final confirmation of Shanquella Robinson as alive was on the night of October 28, 2022. She posted on her own Instagram stories that she was in Villa Linda 32 in the hills above Cabo San Lucas. She shot herself as she strolls around the mansion, laughing, searching her friends, and saying that it did not take much time to take off and go swimming. That night, she called her mother, Salamandra, informed her of the private chef who made tacos, said to her the villa was beautiful. "I will send her a call in the morning," Salamandra said. She never called back. The question that most people put across in the beginning of following this case was the wrong one. The question they posed was, what became of Shanquella Robinson? What did not happen is the right question, the one that opens this whole thing all the way up. Since what did not take place is the then that makes you lose sleep. What did not occur is that nobody in that villa attempted to rescue her life when they had time, and the people who were to know why did not know why either. This isn't a retelling, this is a file, and we're opening it. Following up on this one check, in comments typed "File Open." 6 people flew from Charlotte to Cabo on October 28, 2022 to celebrate a birthday. They checked into Villa Linda 32, a 5-bedroom, 5.5-bathroom hacienda with white marble floors, a private infinity pool, a swim-up bar, a hot tub, a rooftop terrace with a fire pit, and panoramic views of the Sea of Cortez. It sleeps 12. There were 7 of them total. The 7th, Nazir Wiggins, the birthday boy, was arriving the next day. The group: Khalil Cook, Winter Donovan, Malik Dyer, Alyssa Hyatt, Dejanay Jackson, and Shanquella. Shanquella paid for the villa, all of it. She was the one with the money. 2 businesses by 25, a children's braiding salon called Exquisite Babies, and a women's clothing line, Exquisite Boutique, both doing well. Social media following in the thousands, stocks selling out regularly, a woman building something real. She was also, by multiple accounts, the last person added to this trip. The other 6 had known each other longer. She was the 7th wheel with the biggest wallet. That first night looked normal from the outside. Drinking games, pool time, stories posted. But one piece of footage from that evening sits differently now. It was taken on Shanquella's own phone, but uploaded by Khalil. It shows her passed out on a hammock at 8:45 p.m. Khalil's voice narrates over her unconscious body. "Got our first dead body." He laughs. She'd be dead for real in less than 18 hours.
The following morning, Shanquella filmed a video where she was walking around the villa searching the others. She caught them all together in a bedroom. Together, without her. The energy is off. Shanquella laughing, talking a lot, excited about the day. The others are quiet, stiff. The body language tells like a room where someone was talking with somebody without her presence. Think about that for a second. 6 people in a room. The 7th walks in. Everyone goes still. It was between that point and early afternoon that something went wrong in Villa Linda 32 that caused the death of Shanquella Robinson. At 2:13 p.m., there were calls made at the villa to the staff at the resort. One of the guests, who was later to be named Winter Donovan, claimed that Shanquella had been drinking a lot and was not in good spirits. They needed a doctor. About the same, Salamandra Robinson was recalled by Kalia Cook at Charlotte. He informed her that Shanquella was alcohol poisoned. He said a doctor was on the way. I said we would see to it, he told her. At the villa, which was Circle of the Chair, came Dr. Carolina Gutierrez of the American Medical Center about 3 p.m. Shanquella was lying on a couch in the game room, conscious but unresponsive, unable to speak, severely dehydrated. The physician examined her case and told her what any medical practitioner would tell her. This lady must be taken to the hospital. The friends refused. The doctor said it again. Shanquella required IV fluids, assessment, a good facility. They refused again. Their excuse? They told him that it would be $5,000 to move her. 1 second Google search refutes that. Even without insurance, healthcare in Mexico is a small fraction of the cost in the U.S., and Shanquella was insured, and these were individuals who had only booked a villa at $15,000 per night. However, they were unable to raise money to rescue their bud. The doctor stayed. She set up an IV drip. She monitored, but Shanquella did not better. Shanquella had a seizure at 4:13 p.m., about an hour into it. Full tonic-clonic. Her body jerked, then spasmed. It was a medical emergency when the villa, with its ocean views and infinity pool, became a part of a medical emergency. It took someone to call an ambulance by 4:20. Paramedics arrived at 4:49 p.m. At that point, Shanquella was dead. No breath. They initiated CPR, 14 cycles of chest compressions, a defibrillator 6 times, 5 doses of epinephrine, everything they had for a half an hour. Police arrived at 5:25 p.m. The doctor appeared at the door and explained to them just the same thing. Young American woman, had too much to drink, lost consciousness. Shanquella Robinson was pronounced dead at 5:59 p.m. There was one final call by Khalil to Salamandra. In her view, he was able to convey the news without emotion in his voice, flat, like reading a line off a card. Her daughter was killed in a Mexican villa, but around her were persons who said they were her friends, and all of them were going to lie how it had happened. This is what we do in the Last Seen files, in case it is the first file you have opened with us. We follow the evidence, we follow the silence, and silence in this case is thunderous. In case you would like to go with us, you can. New files are being opened on a regular basis, and this research is by no means finished. In less than 24 hours after the death of Shanquella, all of the 6 of her traveling friends had packed their bags and were out of Mexico. They did not remain behind to assist in organizing the delivery of her body back. They did not interact with investigators. They just left. And the way they left matters. Dejanay Jackson called to the concierge of the villa and ordered a car, allegedly to drive the group to dinner in town. They were not really going out to dinner. They were heading off to the airport. They did not inform the concierge of their departure until the next morning, when a housekeeper said that there was no one at all in the villa. Later, he explained to police that he was manipulated. There's something else he said that I remember, and that was, after Shanquella was pronounced dead and the group sat around the table where he had entered to offer condolences, he heard laughter in the room after he left. Their friend had just died. They were laughing. Then Dejanay prayed him to give him that car, not to a hospital, not to a police station, to town, to the airport, gone.
One at a time, the members of the group visited the Robinson family at Charlotte. They carried the bags of Shanquella, they expressed condolences, and they told stories. The issue, the similarity of two stories, did not exist. One of the friends stated that a housekeeper discovered an unconscious Shanquella on the floor of the bathroom. Another one of them said they found her lying in a bed. Another person replied that she was sitting in a chair. 6 people. One villa. No one could concur on the location of the body of their friend when she stopped breathing. But they all consented in a single fact: in alcohol poisoning. That was the line. She drank too much. Tragic accident. Nothing that anyone could have done. Salamandra wasn't buying it. Her daughter was not a serious drinker, and 6 narratives do not contain truth. They add up to a cover-up. Then here came the death certificate of Mexico, and none of those visitors called anymore. Stopped texting, stopped showing up. Total silence, overnight. The question to ask yourself is, how come that you now just shut the mouth the instant the official cause of death is announced, unless you had an inkling that it was going to negate everything you had been saying hitherto? A week following her demise on November 5, 2022, the Baja California Sur Coroner Office published the death certificate of Shanquella and her autopsy report. Death cause: serious spinal cord trauma and atlas luxation. Atlas luxation. The bottom of the skull has the first vertebra attached to the skull, and it is not attached to the spine. In simple language, she broke her neck. Violent force was used to separate the skull and the spine, the type of injury that nurses reported to only witness in high-speed car accidents, not from tequila, not because of stumbling on a cooler. The report stated, time taken before an injury to death, about 15 minutes. Estimated time of death, 3 p.m. The death was ruled as not an accidental death. The name of alcohol did not appear anywhere in the document. Sit with those numbers. The time interval between injury and death was 15 minutes. The doctor was not yet at the villa till about 3 o'clock. What broke the neck of Shanquella Robinson must have occurred before the medical personnel could even stroll in the door. As her friends were terming it alcohol poisoning, someone was calling the resort to call a doctor that took hours to treat her of something that had already killed her. It gets more complicated. On November 12th, Shanquella was handed over to Charlotte. Her father, Bernard, attended the funeral home to visit her. He stood there and wept. It is at that moment that he made a promise, the promise that he would bring her justice. A second autopsy was ordered by the FBI. The Mecklenburg County Medical Examiner has performed it on November 17th. Charlotte autopsy did not show proof of spinal cord injury. No atlas luxation. The spine was intact. 2 autopsies, 2 countries, 2 entirely opposite discoveries on one body. However, the Charlotte report was not clean. It discovered a hematoma on her forehead, a blood pool beneath the skin through blunt force trauma. She was struck or bumped against something or somebody and had internal hemorrhage in her skull. Mild cerebral edema, brain edema characteristic of concussion, and hypoxic ischemic brain injury, brain damage of oxygen deprivation. The cause of death, unknown. How do you reconcile this? The Mexican autopsy was conducted in 24 to 48 hours. The body was fresh. It took embalming and 19 days in the U.S. autopsy. Embalming makes the tissue hard, reposes the structures, covers the damages in the ligament. In the case of Shanquella, whose neck was dislocated, embalming and handling would have forced it to go back to position. An injury to the soft tissue will not exhibit itself in the same manner 3 weeks later in a body that has been preserved. The second option, which the prosecutors were inclined to believe in, is that the Mexican examiner was mistaken. This is what both autopsies have concurred, though. Shanquella was struck in the head. Her brain was swollen, her brain was deprived of oxygen, and her system did not contain any alcohol. None. The whole story of alcohol poisoning, the story 6 men had told the mother who was grieving her face, had been a forgery. On November 16th, 3 days before Shanquella's funeral, a video appeared online. Nobody knows who uploaded it. Nobody has claimed responsibility. The footage was taken inside a bedroom at Villa Linda 32. Shanquella is naked. She is being beaten by another woman, later identified as Dejana Jackson. Repeated punches to the head, the face, the neck. Shanquella doesn't fight back. She doesn't even try. She absorbs the blows and tries to shield her face with her arms. In the background, Khalil's voice, the man she considered her best friend, the man who had been on family vacations with the Robinsons, the man her parents trusted enough to let him walk her daughter's bags into their house after she died. Quella, can you at least fight back? No. Someone else in the room is also recording. You can see a hand with long white nails holding another phone. At least 2 cameras rolling. Multiple witnesses in the room. Nobody steps in.
The video went everywhere. Millions of views, trending across every platform. The hashtag Justice for Shanquella forced mainstream media to cover a story they'd largely ignored for weeks. Without that video, without citizen journalism and social media outrage, this case might have stayed buried under a false police report in a Cabo filing cabinet. But here's the thing most people miss. The video doesn't show how it ended. The clip stops. We don't see the final blow, if there was a final blow. We don't see Shanquella after the beating. We don't know if there was more. What we know is that a woman was brutally assaulted on camera in front of people she trusted, and within hours she was dead from injuries consistent with extreme physical violence. The detectives weren't buying the alcohol story. The internet wasn't buying it. The family wasn't buying it. The death certificate wasn't buying it. The only people still selling it were the 6 who were in that villa. Somewhere in this file is a question nobody can answer cleanly. Not legally, not morally. What were the other people in that room thinking? Not the one throwing punches, the others, the ones holding cameras, the ones who stood there and watched, the ones who later sat in Salamandra Robinson's living room and told her it was alcohol poisoning. What do you think was going through their heads? Inside the room or outside, already planning the cover story? Type inside or outside below. I read every single one. In February 2025, the FBI released the second batch of documents from their investigation through a FOIA request. Over 100 pages, most of them blacked out with redaction markers. Whole paragraphs gone, names erased. But what was visible cut through the noise. The friends told FBI agents a new version of events. Not alcohol poisoning this time. Now it was Shanquella was drinking and hit her head on the toilet. New story, same problem. It still doesn't explain a broken neck. It still doesn't explain the video. And it still doesn't explain what comes next. Because the documents revealed something that has received almost no mainstream coverage. Someone in the group believed there were security cameras inside the villa, 2 of them, and that person tried to obtain the footage. Read that again. One of Shanquella's travel companions thought the villa had cameras and made an effort to get whatever those cameras recorded. The FBI took this seriously enough to include it in their 11-item letter to the Baja California Sewer Attorney General. Question number 2 on that list, sent just days before the AG's press conference about the case. Are there any videos or images from the hotel's security cameras that include Robinson or people associated with her? Other questions on the list. Who owns the villa, and were they interviewed? Is there 911 audio? Is there a report from the ambulance crew? No response from Mexican authorities was included in the declassified documents.
We don't know if the cameras existed. We don't know if footage was captured. We don't know if someone accessed it, copied it, or wiped it. But we know that someone in that group was worried enough about being recorded to go looking. Think about that. You're in a luxury villa, your friend is dying or already dead, and your first instinct isn't to call an ambulance, it's to check if there are cameras. That's not grief, that's damage control. And here's the other detail from the FBI files. Someone, name redacted, saw photographs of Shanquella's body after she died. They described what they saw to investigators. The exact words recorded in the file. She looked like she had been stomped on. Stomped on. Not bruised from a fall, not marked up from a fight. Stomped on. That word carries a specific physical meaning. Force directed downward, repeatedly, onto someone already on the ground, already unable to fight back. The FBI also extracted the full contents of Shanquella's black iPhone. They attached relevant photos to their internal report. Those photos were redacted from every public document. What's on them remains classified. Bernard Robinson asked the only question that matters. What was on them pages? Over 4,000 pages of FBI documents and more than 2 hours of video are still under review. The family's attorneys say the FBI has not returned Shanquella's personal belongings, despite closing their criminal investigation. When the family filed a records request, the FBI denied it, stating that releasing the material could interfere with enforcement proceedings. Enforcement proceedings for a case where no one has been charged, where no one has been arrested, where the FBI itself said there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute. Which is it? On November 23, 2022, less than a month after Shanquella's death, a judge in Baja California Sur issued an arrest warrant. The suspect, a female American identified as the direct aggressor. Mexican authorities classified the death as femicide, the gender-based killing of a woman. In Mexico, that charge carries 40 to 60 years. The Attorney General stated publicly this was not an accident, not a fight gone wrong, but a direct assault that fractured the spinal cord. They filed an Interpol red notice. They initiated extradition paperwork. They sent the request to the United States. And then the system did what the system does. Nothing. According to reporting, the State Department never forwarded the extradition request to the Office of International Affairs. The handoff just didn't happen. The warrant sat. The suspect stayed in America, free, living her life, eventually changing her name. In April 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice announced it would not pursue federal charges. The two autopsies contradicted each other. The cause of death was undetermined, and a video of a woman being beaten, followed by her death the same afternoon, apparently didn't meet the bar. The family's attorney, Shanquella Robinson, stood outside the federal building afterward. She said something that's hard to shake. She compared the feeling to watching the George Floyd footage and being told you weren't seeing what you were seeing. The Robinson family did what families do when the system fails them. They went civil. In October 2024, Salamandra Robinson filed a wrongful death lawsuit in federal court. $100 million in damages. Named as defendants, all 6 travel companions, the Cabo Six, plus the FBI and the U.S. State Department. The suit alleged battery, wrongful death, negligence, conspiracy, emotional distress, and a deliberate cover-up. The claims against the FBI and State Department were dismissed by Judge Max Cogburn in June 2025. Expected, but still painful. The family's attorney, Shanquella Robinson, said part of the point was simply to force government officials to explain to a court why they hadn't done more. The claims against the Cabo Six are still pending. 4 of the 6, Alyssa Hyatt, Winter Donovan, Malik Dyer, and Khalil Cook, filed motions to dismiss, arguing the case belongs in Mexico, not the U.S. They want this tried in a foreign country, under a foreign legal system, with no jury, a language barrier, and 24 witnesses who are Mexican nationals, as far from a North Carolina courtroom as they can get. Sue-Ann Robinson fired back. A United States citizen should not be allowed to go overseas, harm another U.S. citizen, and come back to the United States and essentially say that they're on base. The most significant filing came from the primary alleged attacker. Imani Green, formerly Dejanay Jackson, responded to the lawsuit in June 2025, first without a lawyer, then with one. She denied all allegations. She claimed self-defense. Her attorney accused Shanquella of belligerent behavior and provoking the fight. The filing also claimed Shanquella failed to disclose a medical condition and engaged in excessive drinking. Self-defense against a naked woman who said no on camera when asked if she could fight back. Shanquella's mother responded with her own filing. She argued Green changed her name to avoid accountability, that private investigators tracked Green to an address in Hartford, Connecticut, where they found her car but could never confirm she was home, that Green maintained multiple residences specifically to dodge service, that every move she's made since October 2022 has been designed to disappear from the consequences of what happened in that bedroom. As of right now, 5 of the 6 have responded. Only Malik Dyer remains silent. The judge has not ruled on whether the case against the Cabo Six moves forward. Nobody has been arrested, not by U.S. authorities, not by Mexican authorities. The warrant from November 2022 is still outstanding, unexecuted.
There's a specific kind of terror in this case that doesn't come from the violence itself. It comes from the hours after, from the space between the beating and the death, from a doctor in a luxury villa saying this woman needs a hospital and being told no, twice, 3 times, for over an hour. It comes from the concierge hearing laughter after the body was declared, from the car request to go to dinner that was actually a ride to the airport, from the bags packed in secret, from the quiet exit while Shanquella's body was driven to a Mexican coroner's office. It comes from the phone calls to Salamandra, Khalil's flat voice, the rehearsed line about alcohol poisoning, the visits to the family home with condolences and bags and lies. It comes from the dead body joke on the hammock the night before. It comes from the name change, the Hartford apartment, the multiple addresses, the motion for dismissal filed without an attorney, then refiled with one claiming self-defense. It comes from the long white fingernails on the hand holding the second phone. And it comes from the system. 2 countries, 2 autopsies, 2 conclusions, 0 arrests, 4,000 unreleased pages, 2 hours of unreleased video, a father who stood in a funeral home and promised his daughter justice, and nearly 3 years later is still standing in courtrooms repeating the same words. Bernard Robinson said something in May 2025 that cut through all the procedural noise. Justice will be served, and nobody can tell me it won't be served, and sometimes it takes a while. That's a man who has watched the people he believes killed his daughter walk free for over 1,000 days, and he still has faith in a system that hasn't earned it. Shanquella Robinson's last confirmed communication was a phone call to her mother on the evening of October 28, 2022. She said the villa was beautiful. She said they were having tacos. She said she'd call tomorrow. Tomorrow, she was gone. There are still 4,000 pages the public hasn't seen, still 2 hours of video sitting in an FBI file, still no public answer on whether those villa cameras existed or what they recorded,
Still an unexecuted arrest warrant in Mexico with a name on it. Still a wrongful death suit pending in a federal court in Charlotte. And still 6 people living in the United States who know exactly what happened in that bedroom and have not said a word under oath. At Last Seen Files, we hold to one principle. The last record is never the full truth. There's always a frame before, a call that didn't connect, a door that closed before the camera rolled. The record tells you when someone was last seen. It never tells you what happened in the silence after. In Shanquella Robinson's case, the silence came fast, and it has lasted nearly 3 years. This file stays open. One last thing before you go. Shanquella Robinson paid for the entire villa. She was the one with the money, the plans, the businesses, the future. She was the one who said yes to the trip because she trusted the people who invited her. She walked into that villa laughing, filming, looking for her friends. Think about the people in your own life, the ones you'd travel with, the ones you'd trust in a foreign country, the ones you'd fall asleep around without a second thought. How well do you actually know them? Drop one word below, just one, the first thing that came to your mind. The file is open.